In this video, we will walk through what actually happens if you are a freelancer in Denmark and fail to pay your taxes, and why taking a proactive, structured approach is critical to protecting both your finances and your reputation. Whether you are a consultant, creative professional, developer, or operate a small one-person business, the moment you invoice clients and generate income, the Danish tax authorities expect you to handle your obligations through SKAT. Many freelancers underestimate this, especially in their first years, assuming that relatively modest income or the complexity of the rules will somehow reduce the consequences. In practice, the opposite is true. The system is built to identify inconsistencies, and the impact of non-compliance escalates over time. So let's start with the basics. As a freelancer in Denmark, your income is taxable, whether you work through a sole proprietorship, a company structure, or simply invoice as a private individual. In most cases, you are responsible for reporting your income accurately through your annual tax return and, where relevant, registering for VAT and reporting it at the appropriate intervals. When this does not happen, or when reported income does not match the information SKAT receives from Danish or foreign clients, banks, or digital platforms, a chain of consequences is set in motion. Typically, the first stage is administrative. SKAT will flag discrepancies, often triggered by automated data matching. You may receive letters or digital messages requesting clarification, additional documentation, or corrections to your return. At this point, the process is still relatively manageable. If you respond promptly, provide documentation, and correct your tax filings, additional costs may be limited to interest and possibly a smaller surcharge. However, ignoring these early signals is where the real risk begins. When taxes are not paid on time, SKAT starts calculating interest on the outstanding amount. This interest is not simply symbolic. Over time, it compounds into a meaningful cost that directly reduces your net income from freelance work. In addition, SKAT can impose surcharges or penalties for incorrect or missing information, particularly if they assess that the mistake was not just an oversight but negligent or intentional. The more years involved and the larger the income, the greater the likelihood that the authorities will treat the case as serious non-compliance rather than an honest error. If you continue to avoid payment or do not set up a repayment plan, SKAT has extensive powers to recover the debt. They can initiate enforcement measures without the lengthy processes that many private creditors face. This may include wage garnishment, where part of your salary or freelance payments is redirected before you receive them, or seizure of funds from your bank account. In more severe cases, they may register a lien against valuable assets, such as a car, or, in extreme situations, initiate forced sale proceedings. For a freelancer whose financial situation often depends on maintaining liquidity for business expenses and personal living costs, this kind of intervention can be highly disruptive and may undermine your ability to operate effectively. Another important dimension concerns creditworthiness and access to financial services. Significant unpaid tax debt, especially when it has entered enforcement, can damage your standing with banks and other lenders. This may limit your ability to secure business loans, obtain credit for investments, or even negotiate favorable terms with landlords or suppliers. While this damage may not be visible overnight, it accumulates and can shape the perception that institutions have of you as a business counterpart. Beyond the purely financial and administrative consequences, there is also a compliance and legal risk dimension. If SKAT suspects that the failure to pay taxes is deliberate, systematic, or accompanied by false documentation, the case can escalate from an administrative matter into a criminal one. In such situations, you may face fines significantly higher than the unpaid tax, and, in the most serious cases involving large amounts or clear intent to evade, there is a risk of criminal charges. While custodial sentences are typically reserved for major or aggravated cases, even a criminal record related to tax evasion has serious long-term implications, affecting professional credibility, access to certain roles, and the trust that clients place in you as an independent professional. Additionally, there is an often overlooked consequence: loss of time and focus. Once SKAT initiates detailed reviews, you can be required to submit extensive documentation covering invoices, bank transactions, expense receipts, and contracts over several years. Reconstructing this under pressure, especially if your bookkeeping has been informal or inconsistent, is both stressful and time-consuming. It diverts attention away from income-generating work and client relationships, and it can delay important business decisions. For many freelancers, the indirect cost of this distraction can be as burdensome as the tax bill itself. It is also important to understand that, in Denmark, the statute of limitations on tax reassessments is relatively long, particularly where errors are considered serious or intentional. That means the consequences of poor compliance today may surface years later, at a point in your career when you are earning more, have more at stake, and have built a stronger professional profile. A retrospective reassessment covering several years can result in a large, unexpected liability that is far more difficult to absorb than simply paying the correct tax up front. So what can you do to reduce this risk? The most effective strategy is to treat your freelance activity as a professional business from day one, regardless of size. This includes registering correctly with SKAT, keeping clear records of income and expenses, using accounting software or a bookkeeper, and setting aside a fixed percentage of each payment you receive to cover tax and, where applicable, VAT. If you realize that you have underreported or not paid correctly in previous years, it is generally better to approach SKAT proactively. Voluntary disclosure, where you come forward with corrections before the authorities initiate a case, is often viewed more favorably and can reduce penalties. It is also advisable to seek guidance from an accountant or tax advisor who understands the Danish freelance landscape, particularly if you have cross-border clients, platform income, or mixed employment and freelance earnings. Ultimately, the key message is this: failing to pay taxes as a freelancer in Denmark is not just a minor administrative issue. It has concrete, escalating consequences across finances, legal risk, and professional reputation. The system is built on transparency and data sharing, which means that the likelihood of sustained non-detection is low. By investing early in proper compliance, you not only avoid penalties and stress, you also create a stable foundation for sustainable freelance growth. If you are unsure about your current situation, take the initiative now, review your records, clarify your obligations, and, if needed, engage professional support. It is almost always easier and less costly to resolve issues before they become enforcement or legal matters. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful and would like more content on navigating tax, compliance, and financial management as a freelancer in Denmark, consider subscribing and sharing this video with others who may benefit from a clearer view of the risks and responsibilities involved.